Oh man, I'm trying to get my energy together though.
You got this big sis. Come on, I took some shots. Let's go.
Take some shots.
I did. Yeah, give me a shot.
Are we really about to take a shot?
No, I'm not. As long as I don't get drunk off of dark liquor, I can take a shot. It's fine. Is it? Oh, it's Crown Royal. What is that? Isn't that whiskey too?
Yeah, that's bourbon.
Crown Royal is?
Yeah, that's
oh,
bourbon.
Damn, you're fucked. I'm just kidding.
It's still bourbon.
Really? Because that was never mean off that. We call it the Terry drink, and it's peach crown and lemonade.
But you see Jack Daniels and Crown.
Yeah, I was gonna say Crown. I don't really consider Crown like in the dark.
It is.
Well, I mean, I guess I should say it doesn't.
Come on, don't make it beat my ass.
I guess I should say it works fine for me. Because when I was chasing it, when I used that and I chased it with that, I was like, why do they taste similar? Party girl, party girl, yellow.
Listen.
Let's do mine halfway. You can give her a full one.
give her a full one.
Yeah, wake her ass up. Give her the half that I was supposed to have. What the hell?
That's a half.
That's more than hers.
That's a half. Ooh, shit.
Here we go.
Come on now.
Hold on.
Not another fucking shot.
Right? Shit, hold on. Let me fix this lopsided.
All good. All good.
I think it's because I'm missing a ball.
Oh yeah. I noticed that a couple weeks ago.
They ain't paying us right now.
No, say they don't pay us. They don't get paid. That's why I didn't bring my Pornhub shirt.
Oh.
They don't pay me.
So not me finna like chase the shot with more alcohol.
That's the point.
Did you drink it or did you take it?
No, I coated my mouth with this so that it's prepared for
are we
this.
gonna toast? I don't know. Shit. It's episode 6.
Oh, that was painful. Ugh.
Woo, shit. Where the fuck my cup go? This is it. Okay. Oh, shit. Zola is being filmed.
We gotta press some Bluetooth.
Grow some hair on your chest.
Oh my gosh, Jinx, the only soda. I literally say that all the time. Every time I take a shot at the bar that I don't like, especially when I drink Rumplements, I'm like, ooh, I was like, oh, I got some hair on my chest. Last night they asked me, they're like, oh, do you want to run? You're the one who drinks, because they got me and Mari confused. Like, you're the one who drinks Rumplements, right? I was like, no, I drink Rumplement's sexy cousin, Dr. Menthol.
Oh
Rumplement's ugly bitch.
Both of them nasty.
Yeah,
down the river.
Yeah, we were tubing, and it looked like water, so he drank it like water, and he learned real quick. He thought it was like mine. I was like, no, Rumplement's has a way higher proof.
I was like, this is double strength.
Yeah,
I was go.
He was throwing up. I was funny because me and my friends were like talking about like going out and stuff. He was like, am I going out with you guys? No. We laid his ass down at the house, and me and Tori went to the. Oh no, actually, I dropped her off at the house and I went to the bar. I was like, I ain't done partying yet.
No.
No.
All right, man.
All right. I think that woke me up a little bit.
A tiny bit. Oh man, this is gonna be an interesting topic.
I was so excited.
All right.
Nervous.
We ready? All right, y'all. Welcome back to Not Another Fucking Podcast. This is episode 6. Yes. So today we are going to talk about something that me and my sister are both familiar with. And that is the sex work industry. Oh yeah, this is gonna be spicy. So yeah, put the kitties away. This is definitely well shit. None of our episodes
I
are
was gonna
kid
say that
friendly,
nothing about this.
but definitely put the kids away for this one because this
Yes.
is a spicy topic.
Yes.
So yes. So yeah, what
But we'll
is
just
your
dive into it.
yeah, well so
Well,
let me hear your story.
I think it's funny because when you came up with this topic, when you like called me, it was like, oh, this is what our topic should be. It was funny because you were like, did you know that stripping is considered like sex work in the sex work industry? And I was like, yeah, I actually knew that while I was doing it. Shortly after I got into it is when I found out, especially because there's so many branches. Like when you are dancing, people, especially because the whole thing is a fantasy, people expect a lot more from you. Like you
Yeah.
get offered lots of money, you get offered lots of different opportunities and different type of field pockets, whatever the case is. But yes, I will start by my story, and I would say that when I was 18, I well, almost said I was diagnosed as a stripper. Sorry, I took a shot before we did this. A little nervous. I ended up being a stripper when I was 18, from 18 to 19 and a half, and yeah,
That's wow. I'm sorry. I know you're gonna start your story, but
no,
that's
you're fine.
literally the same ages that I did it.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Oh, that's
like
so
right
funny.
at 18, and
Well,
then just did it like
for me,
yeah.
it was like my dad was like always kicking me out and stuff like that, and I didn't. I was 2 credits shy when it came to getting our diplomas, so I was friends with this girl. Shout out to Andrea because she watches it. Hi, girl. But I was friends with her, and or still friends with her, and she's 10 years older than me. So when I was 18, she was 28, and she kind of dabbled into it already a little bit a couple years before. And so we had been friends since I was 16. And now I'm 18. And she was like, hey, she let me stay with her after like my dad kicked me out and stuff like that. And she lived like the area she lived in Tampa. She lived around so much stuff like Winn Dixie, Chick-fil-A, Hooters, Burger King. Like she just like Winn Dixie. She lived in like there was Sonic, like every place imaginable. So every day my job was looking for a job. And I just couldn't find anything. And then she made a joke, like, oh, you got big titties, go to Hooters. They weren't even hired. And like this was back in 2012. Yeah. February, March of 2012. And yeah, the recession it wasn't really the best at the time, so they were pretty much locked in for employment and stuff like that. I mean, it was really hard. I was looking, it was even on Craigslist, like just trying to find. I don't really think they had Indeed back then. I don't. If they did, it was
probably not.
if they. I was
Yeah.
gonna say if they did, it wasn't like popping like it is now. But I couldn't find just any type of employment. And she was like, "Oh, you should try this." And I was always very insecure about my body, especially because I was raped at 15. So I was very insecure about my body and stuff like that. But then she was just like, I love you, but you're an adult. We were struggling, this and that, and she was like, "We'll do it together." And she had a pole in her living room, and she was like, "Oh," she had already been doing it a couple months, prior, and she's like, "I'll literally, little sister, like I'll hold your hand." And I was like, "Okay." So we did it. I started doing it and stuff like that with her, and it was the most. I don't even know how to say it. It was so uncomfortable at first, and I don't even. Oh man, I'm just trying to put myself back into that time frame.
So was your first job like at a club?
As a stripper?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you started
Yes.
in a club?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I started in the club. It was there was this huge club in Tampa, and it was half nude and half topless. So the topless, so in Hillsborough County, where I was at, I don't know how it is today, but at the time, that county in Florida, they had different counties had different rules. So I know, I believe Pinellas at the time, full nude could serve liquor, but full nude could not serve liquor in Hillsborough County. Topless ones can. Pace. I worked at a topless one. I worked at full nude. I worked at one where it was pasties. Like, well, it was topless, but pasties. And I even worked at a bikini bar. but full nude absolutely was not allowed to serve liquor in Hillsborough County. So the first club I worked at was half. It was huge building. It was cut in half nude, half topless. So we would get a lot of business because the people would come over there and they would see us topless and be drinking like, oh, I'm drinking and seeing titties and stuff like that. And when by the time we got them really hot and bothered, they go next door and see like the full nude show and stuff like that. But eventually, I did graduate to in full nude, but I went to a different club though. It was the club that I was at was predominantly um white girls, and there was a couple of Spanish girls, and they just kind of had their setting and their regulars and this and that, and no shame, no hate on the hustle. But then I went to another club, and Tampa's really huge, so there's like middle class areas, there's like a little bit more urban areas and stuff like that. So I went to a club where the guy was kind of back and forth with, oh, should I do it like this or should I do it like that? And we convinced him, like, hey, a lot of the strippers that were there, we were mostly black. There was Spanish, there was a couple Spanish, a couple white girls. But even the white girls, they were all like, hey, let's, urban it. Like Nicki Minaj was at her prime.
Yeah. 2012.
It was she was Nicki Minaj, Chris Brown, Trey Songz, they were all like at their prime with music, Usher. So we were just like, oh, let's make it, urban. And he would serve syrup, which is
lean. What? He was serving lean in the club?
Like yeah.
Oh,
and so he would do that to where like we weren't legally selling liquor, but you were still, and he was also pretty cool. He was just like, the certain people they paid the, certain price. They were smoking, like I was dancing. I fucking almost got a fucking contact high because this dude was just smoking weed like it was going out of style. And so from that, and then yeah, it was crazy. That was honestly, I just smile about it because it was honestly one of the best times of my life. It really was. It like I think for me, it because of me being raped, it gave me the power and control back of my body. I'm like, yeah, I only started dancing because I needed the money, but it was like like I have control. Like, oh, you're only seeing me like this because I want you to see me like this. Like I have the control. If I don't feel like dancing, if I don't feel like I can go home, I can do this, that. It honestly gave me a sense of power back. I personally went on stage, shook my ass, went off stage, did private dances, flirted, whatever, and then I just went home. Like the guy literally came back when we were all we were all like getting ready to start dancing, like we were all in back getting our makeup on, like spraying the deodorant and all that stuff. And he's like, "All right, guys, you know the rules: no sucking, no fucking. Have a great night." And we were just like, "Okay," but like he knew half the fucking whores they were prostitutes. But no, I just went and did my thing. But I got offered a lot of opportunities and a lot of money, and I think my life would definitely be different now. But I was very fortunate to my best friend, may he rest in peace, but he was like he was taking me home. He knew I was living with my friend at the time. Me and her kind of got into like a little spat at this time, so I was just kind of like bouncing around a little bit. And he was like, "Oh, where do you want me to take you?" And I was like, "Oh, just take me, up here. I'm supposed to meet a friend." And I told him. So he went over a speed bump, and all here was like clackling in my bag. And so I had these stripper heels, and they were clear, and inside of they were Vegas themed stripper heels. So inside of them were chips and dice. So when he was going over speed bumps, they were like clackling and clicking and shit. He's like, "What the fuck is that?" I was like, "Mind your business, like just keep going." And so finally he was it just got louder. He was like, "Bro, what the fuck?" So I pulled out my heels, and he was like, because he knows like how sweet and innocent I was. He was just like, German didn't make me that way. My divorce it, I swear. But like he was just like, "What? You're like doing this?" And I was like, he knew clearly it was just for money. He was like, "You're, my little sister, and I want to make sure you're okay." And this guy came in, and he literally looked like how Rick Ross looks now, like how like lean he is and stuff. Like he was tall, bald, like had the beard, like literally looked like, I was like, wow, he looks just like Rick Ross if he lost weight. Now that Rick Ross has lost weight, he literally, like, that's how the dude looked. He was trying to pimp me out. This dude was obsessed with me.
Oh,
And so in that lifestyle, if you're claimed, they really don't like, they just don't fuck with you. So I told Casey about it, and Casey he was a year and a half older than me, so he was already in that scene, and one of his friends was, the mom was a stripper, so he kind of knew how that whole game worked and stuff, and he was like, I'm going with you. And I was like, okay. And they thought he was my boyfriend, because they were like, no, we don't, no boyfriends, husbands allowed. And I was like, they were like, husbands maybe, but boyfriends no. And I was like, no, this is my best friend. He's literally my brother. And they're like, oh, like, I was like, we've never even, no. I was like, if you let him, I was like, no, I literally told him, I was like, if you let him in this club, this is going to be the first time he's ever seen me naked. Trust me, that is my brother. And they were like, well played. And they let him in there. They actually offered him a job and stuff too as a bouncer. And so, yeah. Oh my gosh, the stripper he was so adorable. They loved him. But yeah, so the guy was trying to claim me, and I was like, oh, like, I don't want to make my he told me, he was like, let them know that I'm your pimp. And so I was dancing, and the guy was trying to claim me, and I told him, I was like, well, my pimp's back there, I don't want him to get mad. Never bothered me since. He's not bothering me because I was claimed.
Yeah.
So
that's funny.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. So my first dancing experience, I did a lot of private parties. Like, I worked in some clubs, but like,
that's why you asked me if it was a club.
Yeah,
oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. The main reason why I didn't like clubs is because of the tip out. The tip out was very high, and I worked in a couple like hole in the wall places, and even their tip out was high. So I mainly did private parties. My first private party was actually a lesbian party. So my very first stripping experience was a lesbian party, and it was so wow. Like, I had never danced before, and the girl who
this was 18, 19?
Yes, I was 18.
Oh wow.
Yes, I was 18.
Damn.
And I forgot how. Oh no, oh yeah, it was a friend of mine and his girlfriend who had kind of introduced me to the game, and she had came with me to the party, and she gave me the idea to shove these Mardi Gras beads up my hoo-ha and pull them out as a trick, as like a dancing
They
trick.
like that.
And I did. I'm like, looking back at that shit, I was like, that shit was unsanitary. I'm surprised I didn't get a yeast infection and some shit. Like, I just shoved these random Mardi Gras beads up my coochie and I danced and stuff, and then like in the middle of dancing, like I pulled them out, and like they went crazy for that shit.
I bet.
I was like, oh shit. But yeah, that was like my first experience, and after that I just did like a bunch of private parties and stuff. And it's funny you were talking about a pimp, because it was a pimp that had found me at one of the private parties, and he was trying to recruit me.
Yeah.
And I hung out with him and his bottom bitch and his other bitches for like, I want to say about a week. Like, I never jumped down on his team, but like I took advantage of like the free partying and stuff. Like, I guess he was trying to like show me around and show me like, oh, this is what things could be like if you join the team.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I'm like, I never joined the team, but I definitely took advantage of getting in places free and free alcohol.
He would always hit me and be like, there's more where that came from.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I never see, with my whole thing with the whole pimp thing, I was never with I got to give you all my money and then you give me what you think I should have. Like, that was never like, I was never sold on that. So it was like, I couldn't see myself actually having a pimp, because I'm like, okay, yeah, you're gonna take care of all my needs, but I gotta turn over all my money to you. Like,
Yeah.
no, that's not gonna work. So
Honestly, I think the only reason why I didn't do it is because of just dealing with my dad, and I just didn't want to be under another like man like spell or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
So I would like, I mean, when I started dancing, I had literally lost my virginity like 6 months prior. So I'm like
Mm,
freshly, literally just dancing,
yeah.
coming home and stuff like that. And so I don't know. I just like, I think that was why. But then when we were sitting there and I was just like, someone's like, oh, do you know so and so who comes in here a lot? And I was like, oh yeah, like they back there they called him the pimp because he really was like they're recruiting like girls and stuff like that. Like, oh, you should have heard what happened to my friend who like, that's her pimp. And I was like, oh, what happened to her? And he pulled up and he was asking like the girls for money. She didn't have her share. So I was like, okay.
Mhm.
He was riding around and he saw her one night just talking to somebody, pulled like up, and he ended up beating the dude. Or no, sorry, he ended up seeing her and pulling out a baseball bat and beating the fuck out of her.
Oh
Out of
shit.
her. And because of the lifestyle that we were in, nobody said anything because
Yeah.
they're like, you know the consequences and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's just
But
wild.
that was honestly the second craziest thing that I've heard about stripping. I would say the first is years after I had got out of the game and stuff like that. Like I already had my kids and stuff like that. My classmate, they're like, oh, like he ended up like passing away. And I was like, oh no, like what happened? They're like, oh, he died. He got shot up at the strip club. And I was like, what?
Damn.
And so when video and more information was released and stuff like that, it turned out that his family was very well off. Oh, I feel so bad. May he rest in peace. And like his family was well off, and he went there just being a young kid, having a good time. But in that lifestyle, this is all a fantasy to. It is predominantly like men there. So
Mhm.
it is a fantasy to these men. Like they work hard or they have 6 baby moms and 18 kids, whatever. So they go there and they're like, oh, this is my dream girl, like, and all that stuff. And I learned that when I was doing it. And a lot of my friends didn't understand it, but, or my classmates and I did because I was in the game. And they were just like, oh, what happened to him? What happened to him? And I was like, honestly, I can tell you before anything comes out, he was probably flashing his money.
Oh
The
yeah.
regulars
Yeah.
didn't like it, and because of the area that he was in, it was just a big shootout. Him, some, and another person died. Another person got injured, but they survived. But yeah, and that was the
Damn.
craziest. And I was just like, I'm so happy that I'm just out of that game and stuff like that. But it was
That's
scary. It's
wild.
very
Yeah, it
scary.
is. It is scary because I remember actually doing a private party, and it was like me and a bunch of other girls, and I had invited this dude that I was talking to at the time, and I swear if he was right here, he'd probably bring up this story. Like, remember you almost got me shot? Like,
Oh wow.
he can I had invited him to come to the party,
Mhm.
and he came and he was like outside and he had his hat turned a different way than what was, I guess, the norm in the hood that we was at.
Mhm.
And so this dude came up and he was like, oh no, why you got your hat turned? I was like, he pulled out a gun and shit. And he was like, no, you gonna take that hat off. And he like took his hat off and like threw it on the floor and he was like, what you gonna do? And like nothing really popped off, but then it was crazy because one of the other girls, when she saw the gun, she came and grabbed me and started pulling me away, like, and like they like talking like the dudes and stuff. And I'm like, and she's pulling me away. I'm like, oh shit. She's like, no, like if some shit pop off, get your ass out the way.
Mhm.
Like, and then yeah, and I'll let that happen. And he was just like, you had me come over here and almost got me shot up and shit and da da da. I'm like, I didn't
Oh
know that was
wow.
gonna happen. Like, yeah.
I would say my main club. I know that there was a shooting outside there and somebody died. I know that one of the owners, because years after I got out of it, they wanted me to come back as a dancer or front door / bartender. Yeah, it was full nude, so we didn't serve liquor, but like, like the sodas and the chips and the syrup if they still had it. But yeah, and they wanted me to come back as that. And because the husband and wife down the street from my then husband at the time, they were like, oh, like we got into a conversation about like, oh, like you work there, oh, you should go, this and that. And a year after, I was like, oh, I'll think about it, blah blah. But me and my ex-husband, then husband at the time, whatever, end up moving away. And then come to find out that the husband and wife that wanted me to do it, the husband ended up hanging himself in there.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. And then another thing that it also got rated and stuff too. One of
of course.
my close stripper friends there at the time, she ended up like she went down for prostitution or solicitation and stuff like that. But yeah, you always have to.
What was y'all tip out though?
We had to tip out. We didn't have a house mom. I don't know. Do you know what a house mom is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a house mom is. I'm just saying it in case like whoever's watching this doesn't know. But a house mom is like somebody there at the club who offers you like the uniforms, makeup, tampons, breath mints, deodorant, anything that you need, and you have to tip her out too. So it would be the house mom, the DJ, the club itself. So you just give it to like the owner or whatever, and then the bouncers. My main club, the one that I ended up sticking with, I only had to tip out the bouncers, the DJ, and the club. But it wasn't. It really wasn't too much. I think I remember making like $400 one night, and I think I went home with over 300.
That's crazy because it was this one hole in the wall place that I danced at, and their tip out was $400. I'm like, I didn't even make
$400.
Right. Exactly. I didn't even make that much tonight. Like, what the fuck? They let me slide. I'm like, that was like the one and only time I ever danced at that club. But yeah, they was like, well, our normal tip out is $400. But I'm like,
Tampa's pretty cool because like
I only made like two something tonight. Like,
well, Tampa's like most of the clubs there, they'll like because there was when I first started out, like obviously I'm like shy, I don't really know how to dance, right, and stuff like that. So there was some of the clubs that they were just like, okay, this is our tip out, this and that, and if you didn't make it, then they would go by like a percentage wise. Like they were really professional. So that's crazy though. $400 damn. I mean,
and it was a hole in the wall place. Like it wasn't even like no main club. Like
yeah, no. The only place that I ever stripped at was I did get offered to do other stuff. One of them is
VIPs. That's what we called them.
No, my shipper person, shipper associate friend, whatever. She was into ball busting, which is where,
like literally busting balls. Or?
So the ball busting is when a guy is jerking off, and right before he comes, you kick him as hard as you can in the nuts.
What?
And she got paid $400 to do it.
Oh, there's some freaks out here. Like
that's not even the worst story I have.
I'm like that.
Yeah,
isn't that painful?
They were trying to get me into that, and I really wish that I could have passed the whole. I don't want to hurt anybody. If they would have said, Cora, think about your exes, I would have fucking did it because
I would have done that shit.
Yeah, and she had a nice record. Like she was stripping and doing stuff like that on the side. And she got like work done and all stuff. She could have fucking afford it because of that. That wasn't even the worst story I have. I would say honestly, one of the craziest stories that ever stuck with me. I feel so nervous saying this because when I tell people this, they look at me like, Cora, did you make this up? But I'm like, I can't make something.
No, it's some kinky ass people out here.
Yes. So one time we were in the back of the club, and this girl comes back here and she's like, does anybody have any laxative? And we're like,
oh shit, I already know where this is going.
You know where it's going. Yeah. I was like, we're strippers. Why would we have laxative? So I was like, we're gonna shit through our thongs. Like, why would we have laxative? And she's like, my client is she's like, ooh, my client is here and I need some laxative. Meanwhile, she's counting like a big ass stack of 20s. And I was just like, what? She's like, yeah, I just made $400. She's fanning it. She's like, I just made $400. I was like, from what? She was like, my regular likes to be treated like a toilet. So he paid her $400 to piss in his mouth. And so he was sitting on the chair, and she described this. I swear I was not there. So she like hovered over him and peed, and she had the summer's eve, like the wipes.
Oh,
So
yeah,
she used
yeah.
that as toilet paper, and she wiped herself, threw it in his mouth, and he made gargling noises like he was a toilet flushing. And so she was like, he like tapped like on the side of him, like, and that was the handle, and like, "Grr." And so she came back because he said that if you can shit in my mouth, I'll give you $800. So she would have made $1,200.
She was like, I need the shit.
She literally was in the. She was in the bathroom. I heard her like straining,
trying to shit.
because she one thing for certain, she was trying to get the $800. And when I heard that, I tell people that story,
It is some nasty fuckers
and they
out there.
look at me like, I'm like, bro, how can I would never make some shit like that. I swear I lived this. I swear it wasn't me. I wasn't the stripper.
Oh,
Trust me, I would definitely claim that $1,200, but no, it was not me. But yeah, no. And that's another thing too. Speaking of regulars, they're super, super strict about that shit.
Yeah.
And one time, I'm not even like that, but one time, one of my, this guy was waving at me, and I was like, hi. And my stripper friends were like, no, how do you know him? I was like, oh, he really liked me at the other club I used to work at before I came here. Like they're like, so is that considered your regular? Like, like talking mafia type. And I was like, I mean, I guess I was like, oh shit. And I was just like, okay, I'm glad they backed off, because I gave him, well, I was dancing. Well, we noticed each other. We like had all that stuff. I was dancing. He tipped me out pretty good. And then he wanted a private dance. So he paid for a private dance. Then he wanted another one. So he paid for an $80 dance, which is, or no, sorry, an 80-minute dance.
Damn,
And
80 minutes.
yeah. And then we ended up, he was just like, we were just talking, and he was just like massaging me. It wasn't even like sexual. I was like, I did something, I danced, and like I had like a kink or something, and he's like, oh, like what's wrong? I was like, oh, nothing, I've just been dancing on that, like it's okay, I'm here for you. He's like, no, sit down. He like just gave me like a platonic friendly massage, and I was like, that's cool. But no, I'm glad that they did that, because Cora paid her bills that night, so I appreciate my stripper friends for backing off my regular. But yeah, no, they're pretty strict about that. But I don't know, I would guess I would just say that it was definitely the best time of my life. It was very fast paced. So I slept, I would say my regular day would look like I would wake up at 2 p.m. and just this is before.
So did you work like every night, or?
Well, because you can't. The club that I worked at first, they were just opening up, so at first they really didn't care when you went in, but they got into the routine of you can't just come in on Fridays and Saturdays and get the big bucks.
Yeah.
Friday and Saturday night, that's not fair.
Yeah.
So we did have to work a significant amount of the week, of the weekday,
okay.
for doing it. But this is also like Tampa, Florida, so stuff doesn't like up here. I know the strip club up here, like if I want to go with my friends, stuff like that, it's open Tuesday through Saturday. But down there, it's like
every
clockwork.
day.
Yeah. So
this was definitely a weekend thing for me. So
oh no, I work.
Yeah,
I work during the weekend, through the weekdays. I would say I would do 3 minimum weekdays. So I worked at least 4 to 5 days a week at the strip club.
Wow.
And it was nice. I liked it. I woke up at, this is before I had kids, so I did whatever I wanted. But I woke up at 2 p.m. and then I would eat, chill, whatever. Then I started drinking, and then I would go into the club around 6, 7, just so I could like kind of just set up, talk, say hi, smoke a cigarette, start drinking. They would smoke weed. I would just kind of sit there and chill. Maybe I'd take a hit every now and then, whatever. And then, and then get ready about 8 o'clock. I was on the dance floor until about 2 in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah. First time I rode a motorcycle, though, because I needed to ride home. So, yeah. And I didn't have a choice. It was 3 in the morning, and the buses were stopped, and he gave me a helmet, and I was like, We're doing
Aw.
this. No, it was funny. There was the bouncer. He was like, "Oh, I'll give you a ride." I was like, "Okay, cool." And then I was like, "Where's your car?" He hands me a helmet. I was like, "What's this?" I was like, "Oh shit." Never. Oh, it was so pretty. It was like at this time it was like 4 in the because we have like clothes and stuff. So it was like 4 in the morning and the sun was rising. It was so
Oh, it
cool.
sounds so romantic.
It was romantic. Oh yeah, he definitely had a crush on me, but I was like, no, I'm good. But no, it was definitely. It was
Did
cool.
you ever have like any stalker, like regulars that were considered stalkers?
I personally didn't have stalkers. I definitely had people that were interested in me, but I didn't have stalkers. And I was talking to my now ex husband at the time.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I don't know. I always think about the Players Club and Diamond and stuff when I think about people that work at clubs.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
you have somebody following you home.
Oh,
like-
the bouncers there were super. Oh my gosh, this one guy, he was literally married with children. This was just his job, but he was such a teddy bear, and he would walk us out to the car and make sure that we were good, make sure we weren't getting followed. You know, he just. Well, I remember one time this guy, I was dancing, and he jerked off to me dancing and ejaculated, and I just felt very uncomfortable about it.
They're not
so-
supposed to do that, like in
No.
the club.
No, I felt very uncomfortable, and I stormed after our dance. I stormed off, and he like lunged and followed me. The bouncer, he was like turn around because I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, my personality, just like I've always been very bubbly. So he would do he grabs me, like turns me around. He's like, what, like, why are you like, what's going on? Did he do anything? Do I need to handle this and this and that? I was like, no, he just just made me feel uncomfortable. He was just saying, I didn't want to he didn't touch me inappropriately. That just made me feel uncomfortable, but he wasn't like, it's not like he was trying to like finger me or anything. Like,
Yeah.
you know what
he
I'm
was
saying?
still a creep.
Yeah. So I would just, and I mean, like, I'm like, well, he ejaculated, so it's not like he'll do anything. Well, I'm just saying, I'm not like he'll like, it's not like he has blue balls and he's gonna keep doing it all night. So I'm like, okay, you know, whatever. So, but the bouncer, he was super sweet, and I told him, I was like, yeah, I'm very uncomfortable because this guy did this, and he was like, do you want me to handle it? Do you want me to do this? Do you want me to do that? And I was just like, no, I just, I don't know. He was just really nice, and he was like, okay, we're kind of like a big family there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I wouldn't have had kids, I would have went back.
I wish I could have had like more of a club
Okay.
experience. But
It was
I guess
nice.
Them tip outs. I'm like, no, I'll stick to these private parties.
Well, they were on it, but that was another thing. The same bouncer, when I first started, or not when I first started. Well, the first night I made a decent amount of money, but they were the slow nights. But they were really like, especially like when you get close to them, they're just like, okay, just kind of give us what you have, do the percentage.
Yeah.
Like when you have when you're a regular at a certain club, like they're pretty good there, and they knew my word was good for it and stuff like that. And I didn't have it this night, but then the next night when I did have it, I broke off. Why'd you give me this amount? You only owe me this amount. Or remember that one time when I was short? There it is.
Yeah.
So it was really good. But no, I definitely miss
Any
them.
words of advice for our young sex workers out there?
I would say that have a good group that you trust, because if it wasn't for my best friend Casey, I wouldn't have made it out of that alive at all.
So wait, what ended it? Like, did you get pregnant? Like, stop?
Shipping,
or
yes,
just,
I ended up going to Chicago for my brother, our brother and our cousin graduation, and from high school, and then I was trying to dance up there, but you had to be 21 to dance at the clubs up there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there people got in and stuff, but you had to be 21. So I was kind of fucked because I was 19 at the time. And then when I did end up making my way back down to Florida, I was dancing, but then me and their dad got together like officially again, and then we ran back up to Chicago, and then I got pregnant shortly after. So yeah, and he always takes takes credit for I saved you from the show.
Not I saved
I
you.
took you out of that lifestyle. Bitch, I got pregnant. Like you didn't it's not like you said take my hand, I have a job.
Right, I'm gonna take care of you. You don't have
No.
to do this anymore.
Yeah. But I would definitely say to have that circle because honestly, Casey was my best friend. And when I incorporated, because me and Andrea kind of had, she was going through personal stuff, and I was also going through, just being young and not young and dumb,
Yeah.
just kind of like naive and, stuff happened. And we obviously, it wasn't horrible because she's still my friend to this day. But like, I had, she helped guide me into that, which I'm grateful for. And Casey helped watch over me and make sure that like nothing, I didn't, end up going with some creeps or,
Mhm.
don't listen to him. He's this, I went home this, that, and nobody fucked with me because I had him. And I think it was the male. Like I don't think it was because he was white. I think it was just like the male dominance. It's all male dominated. Like
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's very alpha male. So when they knew that I was claimed by somebody, and actually one time we did because it was urban, he was the only one that went up to me and tipped me, and he was this white boy. So a lot of black guys tipped because they was like, "Oh, we're not gonna let the white boy show us up." And I've heard someone even say that, so I was like, "Oh, that's cool. We'd hustle." But no, it was because of him that I felt safe, and that nothing bad would ever happen. Nothing bad did ever happen
That's
to
good.
me because of that. Beforehand, though, this other bouncer took me home or like took me to my house, but he was like, "Oh, I gotta stop at my house really quick." I was like, "Okay." That was probably the most drugs I've ever seen in my life. I was like, "Oh, I just gotta make a detour," and I went to the bathroom. I came out, and there was a kitchen table this big, the size of this table, but a little bit wider, and little balls like this big. Just, I mean, they were touching each other, bumper to bumper, full of cocaine.
Oh, I'm like, what?
Yeah, and I was just like,
Oh, wow.
that is the most cocaine I've ever seen in my life. I was like, damn El Chapo, but okay. But yeah.
Yeah. I would say definitely make sure security is on point because actually what got me out the game was fear. One of the girls that I used to dance with, she had did a different party that I wasn't at, and it was like, have you seen Players Club,
She
right?
got raped.
Yeah, she got raped and beaten at a party. There was no security. It was just her and one other girl, and it
Did the
was
other girl get
nope. It was just her. But she was also doing VIPs.
mm,
So that alone kind of like scared me out the game because I was
mm,
just like, even though when we did private parties, because I would always go with like a group of girls, and we did have security. So I've never done a party with no security, but just that alone just kind of like had me kind of shook up because she got real fucked up. So
yeah.
and
And
um I heard like she got on drugs and stuff and like strung out and
well,
shit.
yeah,
Like
after that to
yeah,
cope, yeah,
yeah.
that's I mean,
So I was
that's
just like, yeah, I think this is it for me. So, but yeah,
I think one of my turning points was when my friend she the friend who had got me into it, I was also friends with her best friend. And me and her both were offered to go into a hotel and to do stuff. And she picked me up and she drove me to the hotel. We were outside the hotel. And she felt very uncomfortable about it. It was I think it was two white dudes, and she was very skinny, very petite, very beautiful. She was half black, half Arabic. And they offered her 12, I believe, 12 or 1400. And they offered me 800. And to go in there and like have sex with them.
yeah,
And I one being a rape victim and just my morals and how I am with stuff, I knew like at the time I never wanted children. but I was always scared that if it ever did come up, I had kids, I adopted kids, biological kids, step kids, whatever the case is, I couldn't look at them in the eye knowing that I did that. And
Mm.
I was literally, it was just, I mean, it felt like forever, but we were probably talking about for like 10, 15 minutes in the parking lot. And we were just standing there and we were looking up at the building. And I told her, I was like, I can't. I was like, if you do it, I honestly wouldn't judge you. But
Yeah.
and she already had 2 kids at the time. But I was like, I personally can't. 2 daughters
Yeah.
too.
I didn't judge anybody that did
Yeah.
VIPs or whatnot. Like, you know.
Well, I'm saying like that was my.
Yeah.
It wasn't about the judgment, but that was kind of like my turning point. It was just kind of like the whole like, ball busting, toilets, sex work. It was having sex for money. It was the branches.
Yeah.
Like I didn't mind the stripping once I kind of got into it, especially having my best friend there, him being there to protect me. It was the branches.
Yeah, everything
where
else
it was kind of like, okay, dude, just because I'm a stripper, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not a prostitute. Like,
no, one of the things that scarred me was the first night of stripping. One of the lockers, it said R.I.P. over it, and I was like, "What's that?" And it was a girl. She had a kid, and she was stripping. She got strung out on drugs, and I could just only imagine knowing where. I'm like, well, and me and Judge, I'm like, well, she's a stripper. Like, she probably had a fucked up story and a even more fucked up reason for killing herself. But it was just like, damn. But no, it's a very hard lifestyle. People
very fast paced.
Yeah, on the movies, it kind of just looks like, hey, daddy, you want to dance? But it's just, I mean, like it's very intense.
And you really got to work for that money too.
Yeah.
Like, especially like because I was dancing with the other girls and stuff, so it's like shit.
My friend got a staph infection on her knee. I had to be down for a couple days just because my knees and like my back just it's a lot. And then I had, upper body strength. I had to like literally pull myself up upside down to get on the pole and stuff like that every day, and had these big ass heels that I had to learn to walk in, long ass fucking hair, long ass fucking nails. And it was a lot, but I don't trade it for anything in the world because that was the last time me and my best friend were very, very close before he passed. But I would definitely commend him and his girl, which was my friend at the time, for being there for me, because I don't even know what I would have did without them. Just they were my voice and were my eyes. She was checking IDs at the door. She was the hostess, and he was bouncing. Like they were really involved in, and I lived in his car. I lived in his car, so I would, and I got $200 in food stamps. So I was buying like our food, our cold foods on the card, our hot foods in cash, giving them gas money, and yeah, it was definitely the lifestyle. Was definitely just, I don't know. I wouldn't trade it for the world though, but I definitely would advise people to just have people with you. You can't do stuff like that alone.
With you.
You can't do stuff like that alone. It's very intense.
Very scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was good. Let's toast to the past being the past. Shit. For real. Like